It's been less than 7 months since you've officially been back competing professionally, and you're already fighting for the featherweight championship. How do you feel about this opportunity?
I feel privileged, when I see the venue that we're fighting in. It's a beautiful building. So I think just the setting and the environment I'm fighting in this time, it's a unique opportunity for any fighter to do outdoor events. The few and far between. So that's probably the thing I'm most excited about. And obviously the fact that it's a championship fight and the first big professional championship fight I've had in my career. So I'm very excited. And I think the comeback fight in January was a nice way to get started, but I really think I can build on that and have an even better performance.
It's been crazy. Your first fight back definitely came with a side of fireworks. The fastest knockouts in the history of the promotion, 20 seconds in. Congratulations. That was a loud and bold statement. Can you walk us through the fight? How did it feel to get such a quick victory?
I remember almost being a bit shocked and like confused that it was over and thinking what happened. And it took me a minute to get my bearings and figure out how it got there. So yeah, I was expecting to get in and just take me time. I remember when my opponent like pushed me back to the cage, thinking like slow down, I just want to get warm and take me time and enjoy this. But he just forced the issue, so caught him with a clean shot, and I was just circling back to the centre, thinking, I'm just gonna fake and fake move about, and I heard one of my cornermen shout, "He's hurt." So I thought he'd slipped. So as he was like getting back up, I just threw a three-piece at him, and that was him done. So it was nice, definitely. Yeah,
I bet, like, the adrenaline must have been everywhere. I read somewhere that you actually wanted more cage time.
definitely. With 4 years out, I wasn't in a rush to, get out of there. I was looking forward to the cage time. You know what I mean?
Well, you have some time coming up this week. Your next fight is against Lucas Corbage. I don't know if I'm butchering
It's
his last name.
Corbage.
Corbage. Okay. So, he's coming off of a championship high. He just won the Fusion FC Featherweight Championship in Peru. He's making both his European and promotional debut. How do you plan to welcome him into the promotion?
Yeah, I've watched a little bit of footage of him. Obviously, we're both 35, 30, he's 34, so we're both certainly the back end of our physical primes, but we're both going to bring a lot of experience and knowledge and everything else like that. So, it should be a bit of a chess match. I'm open, and that's what I'm after, really. That's what with the event being rescheduled, I've done 21 weeks of training, and I want to feel like I'm in a fight. I want to get in there and feel tested. So hopefully, the level that he's training on and he's competing at is as good as what I'm at. It's hard to tell when you watch other guys he's fighting in South America, because that area of South America, I'm not sure if it's at the same level of Brazil, for example. So, he's obviously 11-1 on paper. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt, I believe. He's got plenty of wins by finish. He's definitely aggressive and tries to finish people. But I think, I'm just a little bit of a different, more smooth operator than he is.
I think one thing people would assume or be sure of is he is going to come with a strong Brazilian Jiu Jitsu background. How do you plan on dealing with his grappling inside the cage?
Well, I think obviously it starts on the feet, doesn't it? So first he's got to navigate past me striking. He's got to time a good takedown. And one thing that's very strong about my game is me wrestling, and obviously being around the likes of Mo and KHK so much just has only helped me the last few years. So absolutely not any concern about him taking me down. If I'm honest, I think he'd struggle. I don't think he'd be able to take me down personally. But if he does, that's okay. There's a lot I can do off my back as well. So yeah, I think I'm still better than it when it comes to grappling. Because it's MMA. If you threw a gi on us, might be a different story. But certainly in MMA, I'm the black belt.
You've actually mentioned that you want to put him away in a round. Can you talk about your striking strategy?
He's probably a bit longer, I'm assuming. I'm not big at featherweight at all, especially not rangy. So I imagine he's got a little
Yeah.
bit of range and size on me. He's had a lot of fights at lightweight as well, so he's obviously a slightly bigger athlete. But I'm just gonna stay nice and tight. From what the two little clips I've seen of him, he's not the tightest with his defense. I've got good defense, so I think I'm gonna be a lot harder to hit than him. And early on in the fight, I'm not gonna try and punch him too hard. I'm not gonna force anything. I didn't last time. Hopefully, the more aggressive he is, the more he'll expose himself, and the more dangerous I become, I think.
On the lead up to this fight, is there anything new that you've been working on, or is there any areas that you've been focusing on improving?
Do you know what? I feel like I've been around the game 16 years now. Obviously, there's things to learn, but it's been more about trying to refine what I used to do really well 3, 4 years ago. So it's more about getting me back and getting the skills back that I already had sharp in my game. As a fighter, you don't need every technique in your toolbox. You just need a good winning strategy and a certain set of tools that suit your skill set. So I think, it's just more about me coming in fit, strong, and, sharp. I've been doing obviously a lot of boxing, a lot of wrestling. I just think I'm
Oh.
a level above them, regardless.
How did it actually feel coming back to professional fighting after 4 years? It must have been a different experience.
You know what? I'd parted ways with the idea of coming back, um, and if it wasn't for Gustavo, then I don't think I would be back fighting. If I'm honest, I was quite enjoying the coaching role and the stuff I do at Aspire, me gym in Liverpool. So I was more than happy not to fight again. I mean, I was meant to fight on Brave 2019. I broke my jaw 3 places,
Yeah,
and
I
that
remember.
that that was like a big knock. And then we had the pandemic, and I just felt like, oh, maybe my time's passed. But obviously the performance in January and how I felt in training and everything else,
100%.
I feel like it's a good job I came back. I would have definitely regretted it. And just look at the event I'm getting to compete in this
That's
Friday. And I've got 3, 4 years probably of high level competition in me. So exciting times, really. I feel like I've been
and
raised from the dead. So Gustavo, thank you.
no, he's definitely done an amazing job. I never thought, I think last time I saw you, you were cornering Mokayan. Never thought that the next time I talk to you would be before a championship fight. It's pretty crazy to think about. World goes. You've been very public about the support you receive from your new management company, Thrive MMA. Shout out Gustavo. How important is it to find the right representation?
Yeah, I've definitely had management in the past that hasn't served me. It's more expected me to serve them. So definitely with Gustavo, I've got a guy who feels looking out for my best interests, and I can trust him. There's a wavelength there. So I think any good management, even though it's a professional relationship, and it should always remain professional, I think there's a benefit if you can have a friendship underpinned in there as well. So yeah, I remember saying to Gustavo, "You're gonna have to get me X amount of money, massively televised international fights, or I ain't interested, bro. I'm busy enough." And he was like, "Sound, leave it with me." And then it was about 6, 7 weeks in. He was just like, check your mail. You got something you need to look at." So we just went from there. And now yeah, I feel so confident I'm going to win this belt on Friday, and hopefully I can defend it against a very worthy opponent next time out again, like someone like Anthony Deasy, who's a European wrestling champion. You know what? That'd be a lovely finish to the end of this year. So I am trying to just take it one fight at a time, but yeah, it's good to be back. So again, thanks one Gustavo for making it happen.
No, like finally, Gustavo putting that workaholism into something that I love it. So you fought in a variety of promotions throughout your career. How has your experiences differed? Like how have they helped you grow as a fighter?
Yeah, I've made mistakes in my career, loads of them, and obviously that's what you learn from, and you learn from seeing other people's mistakes. So being around so many different promotions and getting chances to train with other camps over the last few years, definitely think, leaves me in a position of having a fair bit of wisdom. So 100% it improves your fight IQ. The more you're around the game, then the better you understand it. So massive, massive advantage.
What makes Hexagon MMA unique compared to the other promotions you've fought in the past?
I like very much the fact that they're trying to do things that are a bit innovative with, the theatre event they had last weekend that was going on, the event coming up that I'm fighting in. They're certainly trying to create an extra little spectacle around the fight themselves. So, that's definitely a nice little add-on to working with a promotion like this. And, they can clearly get you a good platform to fight on. I think they're broadcast in 160 countries and lots of big TV channels. So that's also a big bonus for me. If I'm fighting, I want to entertain, and hopefully people are going to see it and appreciate it. And then also, I like how forward thinking they seem to be, for the partnership with Brave. They seem to be thinking outside the box, and that's the sort of promotion that you want to be working with. They'll probably have a quick rise in European MMA. Certainly in France, it's new. It's new almost in France, isn't it, in terms of legalities of having professional competition. So it certainly seems to have started well, definitely.
Yeah, the changes in France have been incredible, especially with all of the fighters finally getting that platform, getting those events to be sanctioned and legalized in the country. It was incredible. I have a question for you that I know a lot of fighters, or especially new fighters getting into the game, would want to know. What factors do you consider when deciding what promotion to sign with? Um, is there anything specific that you think these athletes coming into MMA should take into consideration? Were there any specific promotions you enjoyed, or what sets them apart? And if there any kind of advice in that realm?
I think it's difficult there because, like, there's definitely been promotions I've had bad experiences with, but I know other fighters have had good experiences with them, and the other way around. So I think it's hard to generalize from my own experiences in that sense. But I think if you're part of a team that's got guys who are heavily involved in all the different layers of the sport, working with shows right up to the top level, you've got an experienced manager, someone like Gustavo, for example. You're kind of gonna get the right guidance to know where to put the pen to paper. So I think it's more about the people you have around you. Is definitely gonna affect the different destinations you end up. So I'd certainly say surround yourself with the people who are already at where you want to go, or where you intend to be in the future.
100%. How big of an influence do you think a fighter's team has on the fighter's career? Do you think it really,
Massive.
makes a difference? Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like your professional family, isn't it? It's like, the two of the coaches I've got cornering me this weekend, I've been training with since my very first day doing the sport, 16 years ago next month. So I've opened a business with one of them, and I've spent time living with the other one as well. So it just shows the relationships that you form through the sport. So yeah, I just think, what was the question again? Sorry.
No, I was just asking
Oh, how
about,
important was your team? Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it's massive. It's massive. Yeah. Obviously, you also become you become a combination of the five people you're around the most. So again, it's very important that you go and train with people who have your same standards, professional standards, personal standards. You want to be in a team where you feel comfortable, but also where you feel challenged. Do you know what I mean? Being challenged, obviously, really important, and being held accountable as well. Um, so I think that's a recipe for a good coach athlete relationship between
That's
any coach and athlete: respect, trust, admiration, like-mindedness, co-orientation, going the same way. So yeah, I did actually study a coaching development degree. So I wrote essays on each sorts of questions. So I do, I have pondered these things a lot. And yeah, it's definitely massive. It's massive.
true.
The people
It's
you have around you.
Do you think being a coach for so long helps you gain even more experience than you would have had if you were just fighting as an individual fighter.
100%. So, like the athlete, what the skills to be an athlete are vastly different than being a coach. Obviously, sport specific knowledge, which you acquire as an athlete, is extremely useful for coaching, but it's still only 50% of the bag. The other 50% is the understanding of, the coaching process and how to deliver the techniques and how to communicate with your athletes, how to build a rapport, all those type of things. So, they're two totally different skill sets, but there's no two ways about it. If you're involved in coaching and part and knowledge and always in an environment where you've got a growth mindset, because being a coach is like being a fighter in some ways, as much as it's different. You're obviously always learning. I think
Mhm.
just like
True.
just
Always
like
on
a
the
fighter
mount.
should go and train at other gyms, coaches should go and train at other gyms and try and pick up ideas, and things they can go and use with their own athletes. That's kind of how the game evolves. So yeah, I think it does give me a little edge again, knowing so much about the coaching side of the sport and the sports science and the sports physiology and the sports psychology. And I've covered all those aspects academically, and I've also worked with professionals in all them areas. And then I've acquired that knowledge for my own personal, competition and when I'm working with guys in my team. So yeah, it's big.
Amazing. No, you've definitely, definitely all of those years exponentially multiply throughout that. So you've previously turned down an opportunity to fight in the UFC in favor for ACB. Looking back, do you have any regrets about that decision, or would you make the same choice again?
And it's tough to say. I would say I've got regrets about it. I'm not losing any sleep over it. I remember at the time the fight in Chechnya was they said that I beat this guy Magomedov.
Oh, yeah.
I think he just come off he'd recently beat PT Yan and then just lost to him. And
Mhm.
they were like, it's a title eliminator. UFC were like, we're interested, but just give us a bit more time. Just wait or whatever. And I don't know. I just was like, nah, let's go to Chechnya. Do you know what I mean? Let's
That's
go there.
sad.
This guy I'm fighting
Sounds
looks a beast. So I
real.
don't really want to regret like who I am and what I've learned on the way. Do you know what I mean? So and look, the UFC could still come around, and if it doesn't, that's fine. It doesn't define me. There's so much more that I've got to offer than just being signed to the UFC.
That's true.
So yeah.
I've actually heard rumors around, about you possibly with not just the UFC or the PFL itself. Can you speak to those rumors or share your goals at least for your future?
Well, obviously, like I said, I'm trying to take it one fight at a time, but there are, Hexagon's obviously a new promotion. There are bigger promotions in the world that pay bigger money and have even bigger platforms. Um, and I do believe that's the level I'm at. But first, let's prove that to myself and to everyone else in the world in these next two fights on my deal with Hexagon, and then we'll see what happens in 2024. But you know, the way things are going, I'm just happy fighting. I'm happy living out me passion. And if I don't sign for one of them promotions next year, and I'm back with Hexagon fighting in some fantastic arenas, so
I
be
know.
it. I'll be grateful for everything.
Do you fight for the love of fighting itself, or are you fighting to chase gold?
When I was originally fighting defined me, and every part of my identity clinged onto this thing of being a fighter. And bef- like there was a point in my career where it was like, some point being in the UFC is gonna define whether I did or didn't achieve my goal. But I've kind of shifted my mindset a little bit. And now it's more, I know how much more I've got to give generally, and there's so much more to life than just this one promotion.
What advice would you give other fighters who may be going through similar career trajectory as you, who took a break from fighting for a few years and are considering whether they want to come back to the sports or not?
Yeah, I always think like what for me, it wasn't like I went away from the sport. So
It's
I
true.
know
No,
people who
away from professional fighting in a
Yeah, you
sense.
know what I mean. No, but I know guys who left fighting and gone to the tools and become a tradesman, and then they're like, should have come back to fighting, and it's like, well, you just lost 4 years' time. Whereas in the 4 years that I didn't compete, I was actually on the mat day in, day out. I was learning, I was training, I was sparring really good guys. I was in places like Bahrain with all the guys from Dagestan and KHK. So, you know, it just depends really. Obviously, what what state you're in physically and technically and tactically, and what are the motivations for coming back to fighting. Certainly for me, it was to be in a position where I was, you know, I just thought I've got all this experience and knowledge, and I like fighting. I actually like. I'm not one bit worried about being punched in the face or any of them aspects of the game. So why wouldn't I do it? And I can get paid fairly well, and I can, enhance me career and my experiences in the world and travel and all that stuff. So it was like, it's just going to be worth pulling away from the projects I've got going on in the UK. Like the gym and run. Obviously, I'm not pulling away from them, but I do have to pull back a little bit from the different projects we've got there. So it's all about why you're doing it, and that's a big one. What's the motivation? And certainly, I've definitely seen some guys lately come back to the sport and jump straight into a pro fight with 8 weeks training. It's like, nah, you should have been in for 6 months before you even asked for a fight. So I've seen that going on, and I've seen it backfire on people. Um, so I'm certainly not in that boat. I don't feel like I've got any ring rust, which is why I was happy. I did take the Harrow fight with just 7 weeks to prepare, but I was casually training daily. Do you know what I mean? But it's been 6 months now, and I've been consistently on it. I've just done 20 weeks of camp, so hopefully I'm at my physical peak in my career at this point.
Yeah, I actually heard from someone that you're the only person who can submit Mukayev. I don't know the validity of that, but if I can bet on anyone, it would actually be you.
I mean, I do catch him from time to time, but he catches me an awful lot now as well. Um, so I've got to be honest,
Surprise
it's a
that.
two-way street with me and it. Yeah, funny.
I'm excited for your fight, in all honesty. It's I saw the last one. I know Gustavo sent me a text and he's like, Dean is fighting, just sign him, check this out, it'll be amazing. And it really was. I was so shocked. I was like, oh my God, I thought you would submit him, in all honesty. I was like, Dean is gonna go for the submission.
Yeah,
But that knockout was fantastic. And you definitely have a long way to go ahead in your career. So it'll be exciting to see what you bring this year and
thank you.
next year.
Thank you very much.
Exactly.
Appreciate it, Shay.
And thanks. I don't want to take long from you. I know fight week gets a little hectic here and there, but all the best, and I'll see you on TV soon.
I'll see you soon. I'll probably see you in Bahrain soon anyway.
Yeah, definitely. When
Yeah,
you're
for
around,
the Abu Dhabi card, I'll hopefully be coming out and linking up with Mo and the rest of KHK, and
that'll
hopefully, if
be
everything goes to plan, I'll be fighting potentially Andy Deasy at the end of the year, who's a European wrestling champion. So it'll be great to get out there and get some work in. But
incredible.
let's get past Lucas Corbage this
Yeah,
Friday.
let's get
A
past
finish
Lucas.
inside 2 rounds, gonna be some sort of knockout or choke. And yeah, I'll see you soon.
Yeah, and see you soon, Dean. Have a
Thanks,
lovely
Shay.
night.
Bye.
Bye.